Direct Memory Access (DMA) is a feature of computer systems that allows certain hardware subsystems to access main system memory independent of the Central Processing Unit (CPU). Without DMA, when the CPU is using programmed input or output, it is typically fully occupied for the entire duration of the read or write operation and is thus unavailable to perform other work. With DMA, the CPU first initializes the transfer, then it does other operations while the transfer is in progress, and it finally receives an interrupt from the DMA controller (DMAC) when the operation is done. The feature is useful at any time that the CPU cannot keep up with the rate of data transfer, or when the CPU needs to perform work while waiting for a relatively slow input or output data transfer. Many hardware systems use DMA, including disk drive controllers, graphic cards, network cards, and sound cards. DMA is also used for intra-chip data transfer in multi-core processors. Computers that have DMA channels can transfer data to and from devices with much less CPU overhead than computers without DMA channels. Similarly, a processing element inside a multi-core processor can transfer data to and from its local memory without occupying its processor time, allowing computation and data transfer to proceed in parallel. DMA can also be used for memory-to-memory, copying or moving of data within memory. DMA can offload expensive memory operations such as large copies of scatter-gather operations from the CPU to dedicated DMA engine. An implementation example is the input or output acceleration technology. DMA is of interest in network on chip and in memory computing architectures.
Main function is a pair of communication signal line between DMAC and external device. The DMA requires signal DREQ of the external device and the DMA response signal DACK issued by the DMAC to the external device. After receiving DREQ, DMAC also has a pair of communication signal line with the CPU. DMAC sends a bus request signal to the CPU. The CPU sends a bus response signal to the DMAC after the end of the final bus cycle. The DMAC takes control of the bus and enters the DMA operation mode. Can send out address information, address the memory, and modify the address pointer. DMAC must have an address register that can automatically increase or decrease by 1. Can determine the number of byte transfer and can determine if the DMA transfer is over. Can issue DMA end signal, release the bus, and enable the CPU to restore the bus control. Can issue read and write control signal, including memory access signal and input-output access signals. There must be read and write control logic inside the DMAC.
Okay, now I'm going to explain the direct memory access advantages. Okay, the first is transferring the data without the involvement of the processor and will speed up the read-write task. It means can reduce the reading time. Okay, the next is DMA reduce the clock cycle required to read or write a block of data. Okay, this means allow a peripheral device to read or prompt to memory without going through the CPU. Okay. The last is the implementing DMA also reduce the overhead of the processor.
Disadvantages of DMA controller. One of the main problems of DMA controller is cache coherence problem, which can be seen when it is used for data transfer. So cache coherence is the uniformity of shared resource data that end up stored in multiple local caches. Okay, so the problem happens when the data kept by multiple processors in different local cache are different. So the left side is coherent caches and the right side is incoherent caches. P1 and P2 is a processor which stores data in local file, as you can see here. So yes, this is 8 and 10, which is different data. So this is when the incoherent caches happen and the cache's coherence problem happens. So to check the computer cache, just simply Google the how to check computer cache, and it will show you this. App data, local Google Chrome, user data, default cache, and I've opened it. So this file is okay to delete all of it because it is a cache, nothing important. There are also another way to clean up the computer cache. Shift Control Delete, and it will bring you here to clear browsing data. Second disadvantages of DMA controller is it increases the prices of the system because it is used in third-party DMA, so it is not a necessity for the computer to have it to run the computer.